Evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting of the Student Services Committee here on the 1st of October. Our first order of business would be to verify that the meeting has been properly posted.
Yes, it was.
Thank you very much. Our second order of business then would be for opportunity for public comment. It looks like we have 3 speakers this evening. And before I call the first speaker, I'd like to just read some of our guidelines for addressing the board this evening. We have 3 speakers, and because there are less than 3 speakers, you'll be each given, I believe, 5 minutes to complete your comments. We expect all speakers to honor our time limit, refrain from using any inappropriate language, be respectful in your comments. Speakers who do not meet these expectations may be prohibited from speaking at future board meetings. Speakers are here to address the board, not the audience. The school board and the board committee does not endorse any comments made by members of the community here tonight. We would like to remind our community members of the impact their words have on others and our children who are watching. We commit to communicating with you in respectful and productive ways, and we ask that you do the same. We also expect that the audience will be respectful of the speaker and of the board and refrain from responding with verbal comments, cheering, applause, or other behavior that would detract from this meeting. Please note that no obstructions can be created between the board and the audience. Visual aids cannot be used, and the area behind the speaker and the podium will be clear during public comments. Also, in order to respect our speakers and meeting participants, please silence your cell phones. So our first speaker this evening will be Ms. Melissa Dominguez. And if you could just make sure the microphone up there shows green. I don't know if you need to push the button.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to come in and speak today. My name is Melissa Dominguez, and I'm just going to go ahead and keep it as short as possible. Our 6-year-old son had just come forward on 9/6 advising that he had been sexually assaulted by a peer through 4 and 5K. Our son would hold his urine and bowels all day at school and eventually stop drinking water and limit how much time he had to go to the bathroom, giving him daily headaches and lower abdominal pain just to avoid going to the bathroom at school. He is terrified of this other child. The same suspect child has given our son several bruises from hitting, kicking, punching, and headbutting. So far, the only solution through the police department and the school has been separating our children while in the same classroom because there is only one DL class in the school currently. And the other child has to use the facilities in the office area. Our child is the second child to be sexually assaulted at the same school by the same child. The principal and the assistant superintendent are aware of both of them. The same suspect child also physically harms students on a regular basis. Most recent was the other day. During picture day, while this child's supposed to be separated from other kids, he was pulling hair and pushing children around where mom had to be talked to after class. We feel that our child is being discriminated against as far as the Title IX Act through the U.S. Department of Education as it recites. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And the suspect child was also offered help working with the school psychologist and is quote-unquote doing better as the assistant superintendent advised yesterday. Our child was not offered that same help. Our child was advised that they have a school therapy art program for 6 students and is unfortunately full, but they'll advise and reach out if a slot were to become available. We can't get our child the help he needs, and he still has to remain in the same classroom with the suspect child. He is not able to heal and focus fully on his schoolwork and being in the same classroom. This has brought on so much stress to our family. It is physically taking a toll on us, making us ill. My husband and I have had several headaches, stomach aches, hard time concentrating, while our child is still with the same suspect child in the class. But of course, it was offered to us that they'd be happy to take us on a tour of the other DL classes, as if we have to move. We don't understand why it seems that this suspect child is the one that's being protected. Several parents are not comfortable with this child remaining in the classroom. He is not safe. Unfortunately, all couldn't make it today, but there are some here that could. And as far as the Title IX's promise is that to no one to experience sexual discrimination, including sex-based harassment or sexual violence in a federally funded education. And it says a rule promotes accountability and requiring schools to take prompt and effective action to end the sex discrimination in their education program and activities. And we're trying to advocate for our child and the other kids who have to be in class with the same student. Again, he is not safe, and it's just gonna get worse as he gets older. And how often can you keep them separated? They're just gonna get older, and we don't feel like this is safe, and we don't feel that the school is doing an adequate job of handling this situation.
2 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dominguez. Our second speaker this evening is Holly Sanderson.
Actually, it'd be Amy and I can go together.
You can, sure, follow in order. One of you, if you would like to go first, and then that's fine. Come up to the podium, please. If one of you could start at the podium, and then the next one can follow. You can stand next to her if you like. That's fine.
You can go. Do you have?
So, Mr. Zenobia, they are under the Brighter Smiles, so they're
Oh.
going to present later on together, so not have public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Very, very well. So we had one speaker this evening, and we will hear from you later. Okay. Thank you for that. Sorry for any confusion that may have been caused in all the signing up earlier. All right. So we have no other speakers this evening from the public. We will then move on to our first item of business this evening, which is an action item, the approval of student services minutes from the September 3rd, 2024 meeting. Ms. Voigt,
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
second by Mrs. Kozlowski. Are there any comments or discussion on the minutes? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, measure passes 5-0. Okay. Our second item of business this evening is another possible action item and a discussion item on the update of Board Policy 2451, program or curriculum modifications.
Thank you, Mr. Zenobia.
Thank you.
This board policy language is revised to reflect the option, including in statute, for a designee of the board to deal with such requests. So this policy, in general, gives parents the opportunity to advocate for their child to request or some potential alternate programs or different curriculum structures if they need to advocate for their child, depending on where they think they're at academically. And for the designee of the board to deal with such requests, districts where this process has been delegated to the designee of the board should adopt this revision to assure the board has formally provided a process for an appeal process if if parents or students are denied for that placement. It's a suggestion of a name change from alternative education programs to program or curriculum modifications. District policy pertains to our current policy. This is a replacement policy, the replacement policy is attached. State statute this pertains to is 118.15 compulsory school attendance. And that's where we are.
All right, any questions or comments from the committee? Seeing, did you have a question? Okay. Seeing that there's no questions or comments in particular on this one, be looking for a motion for approval. Nope, sorry. Go ahead, Mrs. Voigt.
Since it is now October, in the school district of Waukesha edits, we want to change it to 10/2024 instead of 9. Very minor.
Seeing that minor change, I don't think it would affect any of the advancement of the policy if anybody would wish to motion to advance.
Motion to advance the policy as written.
Thank you, Mrs. Koenig. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Harlan. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Measure passes 5-0. All right, our discussion information item of the evening. The first one is the role of the alternative education teacher.
Thank you, Mr. Zenobia. The purpose of this report is to provide information regarding the role of an alternative education teacher in the School District of Waukesha. Individuals in these roles serve as members of student services team at East Alternative High School and the teaching staff. This report is part of the series titled The Role of, which you've heard many of. The series was started during the 23-24 school year, and we are continuing to highlight our student services roles and teaching roles within the School District of Waukesha. Alternative education teachers play a crucial role in the development of our students by providing support to students, families, and school staff. Robert Kalpinski is here to present the information regarding the role of an alternative education teacher throughout the School District of Waukesha. Come on up.
Good evening, everyone. How are we all doing? So, I was asked to speak about my role as an alternative education teacher, but really, it's really the role of a Waukesha East teacher. Because at our school, it's a little bit different than alternative programs, which I'll just spend a little bit of time talking about. My experience is that I was a pretty poor student. Probably would have had certain types of designations back, when I was a student in the early 80s, before all these different types of things came about. And my schooling experience was not very positive. And so it kind of led me into the direction where I went, which is I started out in law enforcement. And I always tell my students, don't be afraid. That was in the 20th century. I'm just as afraid as the police as you sometimes. But then I kind of found this role of education, and I got into traditional education. I was a teacher at Wauwatosa West several years, but I found myself gravitating towards kids that struggled, like me. Went into alternative education programs such as Wauwatosa School District has the detention center, and I worked there many years, and then I worked at Racine's alternative school. But this opportunity here, it's very different than anything I've been involved with. It's not a naughty school. It's really what I've learned is it's a school for kids who have different paths, because we all have different paths. And as a result, our students really want to level up like everyone else in this room wants to. You can go ahead and move on. Thank you. I talk a lot, so I'm really going to try to get to it. But what I want to kind of stress with everybody here is that in these pictures, and you see everything here, many of these have clickable links, but you hear this phrase in education about meeting students where they are, and it's a phrase, it's a thing. But we literally get to do that where we are. It's pretty awesome. And I want to walk you through an example of how that works. So you see in this picture, I have a student here who created a model of a survival structure, in which we have science, ELA, all types of different learning targets, the standards, whatever you want to call it, those are in action every day. So if we go into the next slide, what happens is he creates a model of a survival structure based on what we call mastery learning targets, science number 3, which is develop and use models. So we have these really enhanced, very descriptive types of mastery learning targets for everything: ELA, math, science, social studies, durable skills, which I'll touch upon a little bit later on. It's basically your social skills, right? So he starts off by making a model of this survival structure, and then, let's see, yeah, okay, next slide, thank you. So this, it's kind of small, and you'll be able to blow it up later on, but this is basically a continuum that we use to grade these 3 specific standards in science. And they have to hit each one of these in order to level towards going to the right. And these levels kind of coincide with academic levels, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. And then if you get to level 6, you're talking about college. But students have access to these. They see them. We discuss them every day. It's transparent. They know what they need to do. It's instant feedback. So we kind of look at a score. They're going to start out off to the left a little bit. But the thing is, it's not about it's about growth. if we have someone who's at a level 3, like a level 3 for science 3.1, and they are there the entire year, we didn't have growth. We have someone who was at, say, a 1, and by the time we get to the end of the year and they're at a level 3, there's growth. So this is a process for students to see how they can improve in everything. And they're competing against themselves. I think you can go on to the next slide. Okay, so with his example, we actually had students from another classroom come in and give him feedback, which directly relates to Science 3.3, evaluate and refine the model. So there's his first model, not bad. He got feedback from other students, and then we also did research where we read online, or read articles that have been pre-selected on how to build survival structures, and we talk about A-frames, the power of triangles, all this kind of thing. So we can go on to the next one. And what I want to show you here is this is basically what students see and their parents. On the left is a nice little, like, this is how I would grade a student. They would submit pictures and evidence of their learning, and then I would rank these scores based on how well they did on the continuum. And I can give them instant feedback. And then they can look at it and learn, hey, I know what I need to do better. And on the right-hand side is just kind of like a snapshot of all the things that I did with my morning seminar course, which I need to kind of tell you how we do things in just a second here. If you go on to the next one. So, go back, I'm sorry. So after, and I didn't put this in here, after they read their feedback and they learn more about how to do things, and I was going to do this, but we just finished this yesterday, they get a second attempt at building that model. And they put together the science, the math behind it, and the feedback of individuals, and then they can submit it again for another score. We don't have to do the same thing, but we can do anything. We also have something I do in my class, or paper airplanes, creating aerodynamics, understanding the main concepts of flight. And last year, we took our students, with permission and all that stuff, to the parking structure very close to our building, and we had students flying, and they're timing it, and everyone's like, what's going on? And these kids are like, yeah, look how far. I mean, so the cool thing is we get to do stuff. It's in their hands, they're learning, and we really build that nice team chemistry with our students, working together to kind of go about like what you'd want later in life when they're going to work at places. We want people to work well together. They learn real hard, the hard way sometimes. You're not going to always like everyone to work with, and they're teenagers, so we get it. But anyways, okay, so we can move on. Am I okay for time still? All right. I know that sometimes I talk too fast. So if you see any of these pictures, these are pictures of students working and like choosing what they want to do. Students are central to their own learning. What we mean by that is, because our standards are rigorous and they're skill-based, we can use their interest to decide what they want to what they want to learn. So they want, like when we did our last year, and we're doing again this year, we're doing our first 2 units, we're kind of separate, but we're kind of going along as our survival. And they wanted to learn about first aid. And that's why we have the people from Bell here. We formed a nice relationship with them. In the bottom picture, you can see students wanted to create a product. So we happen to have this great technology. We used our doodle pens where they made these different types of objects that they could think about marketing and selling and so forth, just the idea behind it. It helps students problem solve, because everywhere I've been before, kids just say, just give me the worksheet. Just give me there are no worksheets. And I have a lot of the freshmen and some of the new kids, so they're learning, oh, this is different. Like oh yeah, I'm not giving you a worksheet. You're working. And you're going to work with kids, and you're going to present amongst kids. And they have more ownership and more motivation, which is really cool. Now, is it all like cherries and sunshine? No, it's work. But it does have some great results. Okay, what else we have here? So yes, the central, you can go to the next one, I'm sorry. So again, reflection and growth. I love this last quote here. I learned this from my youngest daughter's teacher in 4th grade. People always say, practice makes perfect. We all hear that. We can't do that. Just practice makes progress. And that's what they're doing every day. They're practicing. And it gives them that growth mindset. And we have this thing called durable skills, which is the social, like the soft skills. they are being graded on how well they work with others, manage their time, ask people questions. Some are pretty good to begin with, some are not, but they all have the ability to grow. We all do. So that was something I kind of want to mention. Each student has what's called a personalized learning plan, every student, in which they keep track, and I think you're able to click that like when you get a chance, and they keep track of their progress, their missing assignments, their goals, their behavior, reflect. So they learn from what they have done and what they need to do. Again, these all go back to the standards. Everything goes back to the standards. Everything. And they can see it, and they will work on their PLP all 4 years, and they can see how much they've grown from their writing as freshmen to the time they're seniors. It's pretty neat. I think we can go on again. And we also have a tremendous amount of, like, it's really important to be involved in our community. So so we're doing that. There's so many different programs involved. We are able to take students, okay, we're gonna go clean up after, Oktoberfest. Or we are gonna work with planting flags at a cemetery for Memorial Day. Or we're gonna work with outside organizations. There's so many opportunities, and they really like doing it. And there's not a single kid that has ever come up to me and said, I don't want to be successful. We have to help them find their paths. So we give them, we're alongside them to help them find their paths, find their voices. It's really a neat experience. Okay, we can go on, I think another one. Oh, so our day looks like this. In the morning we spend the first big class we have in the morning is about 2 hours and 15 minutes. It's called seminar. And we have 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 teachers, so there's like 4 different sections. We have 2 sections of 9 and 10, 2 sections of 11, 12. This is where we kind of go over the core academics, your ELA, your science, your social studies. And the projects can have all of them engaged in there. So they can, because like in real life, do we go, okay, we're just having reading and you're gonna get graded. But if they're doing something, a project, you can get graded in multiple areas. And they get multiple chances to show the growth in these areas. And then we have our separate math class that takes place where we do our best to get our kids in the right kind of abilities. We have a math class, work through that. Then they have a little half-hour lunch, and then we have what's called crew, which is kind of like a homeroom. But in that class, we are actually those 4 days that we have them, we're going over goals. Personal goals, SMART goals. I think we all had to write those in our time, right? That's what they're doing. They're doing SMART goals. They're reflecting on what they need to do better. They're doing what's called Zello. They're learning about what they want to do academically, career-wise. Just get them thinking about where they want to go with their set of skills and what they need to do. And then also, they are working on understanding and learning more about this reflection process with goals. So that's kind of what we do. I have just a couple of things I put in there I just want to point out. I would like for you to click the second link there. It says, here's the link, if you could click that. Today, this was published, and this is for anyone to read. This is a publication, a blog that was written by our partner, Building 21. This is about me and working with my students, and feel free to kind of look at it, but basically it talks about my aha moment about how important durable skills, the role, how it sets up everything. And this gives you some pictures and some insight to my great outdoors course in which we're fishing on the Fox, but it's not just fishing, it's science. When we are bringing science in, we have kids for fishing class yesterday, they had to write a guide. They had to write a guide with a partner, pictures, animations on how to fish. Most of these kids have never done it. This is week 5. Now they're going to prove they know how to do it. They're getting their ELA. They're getting science. They're using technology. So it's really kind of a really neat experience, and I'd invite you to take a look at that. And then if you don't mind going back to the slides again, and you're a whole lot more smooth on this than I would be in my own class because we're trying to figure out our new smart boards. But this just kind of gives an idea of some of the things that our school has been in the news for and what we're doing. You know, we've been making a presence known and felt. This is my second year. I could not imagine doing it any other way, honestly. I love the freedom that I have. I love the freedom that I have to give to my students to choose on what they want to do. Last year, okay, I'll stop talking soon, I promise. one of my groups they're really into gaming. Okay, I know nothing about games other than, I mean, you guys are, I think, all younger than me, but I was Pac-Man, Frogger. They're into this other stuff. But you know what? They were able to take a unit and explain how gaming has changed through these so-called 5 generations. I don't know. But they're writing, they're explaining it, they created their own games, they demonstrated. I mean, so they're taking stuff they like and they're using the standards, our mastery learning targets, and they're using that as their guide. I may never use that unit again. That's okay. It's what my class wants to do as a group. And there's times where we can individualize. If I have a group that says, I really don't want to do that, and they want to do this, that's fine. That's why we have the personalized learning plans, because we can do that. So, yes, I'm pretty hyper about it, but I love it. I absolutely love it, and my kids love it, and you can tell, and I'll end with this one thing here. This happened yesterday. I was not in school yesterday because there's some health issues going on at home in my house. We'll be all right. But I missed my first day of school. And I got an email from a student who wrote, "Where are you today?" Now, okay, people are like, whatever. But this student, has made some bad choices this school year. It's been rough in general. But in my class, in seminar, she is thriving, and it is amazing. She knows she has a safe space. So that was her way of saying, "Where are you, man? I love you. I miss you. Where you at?" That email meant everything, because I worked so hard, and we all do. We work so hard to build this safe environment. I'm not the only one. I'm just one of a few. I mean, there's a few of us that work there, obviously, but I'm not the exception. But this gives us the ability to give kids, it's not an alternative, it's their pathway that they need to get to where we all want them to be, which is their best version. So I think I'll end on that.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Who would like to go first? Ms. Kozlowski.
Thank you. I've enjoyed watching the East transition over the last couple years based on all of the different things, moving from a charter into all of that. I just have a couple questions for you. The first one is when we're talking about the PLPs, are you with the same group of students doing all subjects through the day? Is that kind of how, or are they transitioning through other staff?
Good question. So I have a core set of students for that morning seminar, and they will travel to other areas based on their interest in whatever and so forth. So I may not have the same students in other courses. However, our other courses give them the opportunities to reach the standards and the mastery learning target skills they need based on wherever they may be. So for example, for my great outdoors, our students they did some water testing. We had the city of Waukesha come over, county of Waukesha come over and do this really cool water science, measuring oxygen levels, and then and how healthy that the river is. Well, that's the river we're fishing in. Well, the science they were doing gave them MLT skills, attempts at showing they can do these things. And most of these students are not in my seminar in the morning, but if some of them are seniors and they have to have that higher level, then they're expected to score higher. If they don't, they don't. But so you can have any kid, any student in your room, because they understand that the continuum does not change, but they get those multiple attempts throughout the day. So no, I don't have this. I would not have the same students, only just for that morning course. And then semester, it will change. Crew, probably not. Math, most likely not. But that last section of the day, and I forgot to mention that, I totally forgot about that. That last section of the day is just 2 hours. It's our workshop where students get to choose in advance. It's like teachers have their interests. I like making stuff, building stuff, and fishing and all that stuff. So I take my interest, and then I have another teacher's just brilliant with science and criminal justice and photography. So then she has she gets to create things for students, so they get to choose where they're going to go. Well, at the same time, we have to make sure our students get PE and all the same things everyone else has to. So we make sure that those things. So it gets a little creative sometimes in scheduling, but that's a good question.
And thank you. That was a great answer. The other piece is, you mentioned the standards, and this is one of those pieces, especially when I hear you talk about that each student has a PLP and they're integrated within all of that. How do you work on the standards, and really what standards? They all have to get from A to B with individual learning plans. So can you talk a little bit about what the standards mean and how that's encapsulated in the structure of the programming?
Sure. So the standards are based off the national, like, based off the set of, like, national state standards that we all see. And with Building 21, they're able to kind of, like, they create them in a way to, like, make sure that they cover all those things. What we're looking for is, okay, so for example, we're looking for growth. Bottom line is this. We understand that some students perhaps, are we ever gonna get every student to a 6? No, because that level 6 is like, it's college. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to move them to the right, to kind of build off of the skills over time. And like I said, it's my second year, so I have mainly freshmen and sophomores. So what has to happen is, as we're teaching during the day, we're teaching during the course, like, here's an example I can think of really well. In ELA 7, which is presentations, they gotta stand up and present. One of the things they have to learn is in order to score well, they have to have a good hook, right? Well, first time I did, I'm like, okay, guys, we're gonna do a presentation. Let's go ahead and do it. I found out real quick, I actually have to teach what a hook is. And I had to teach what a conclusion. So we have to go over and build those skills so that kids become more and more effective at it. So it's giving those multiple opportunities. I don't know if I'm really answering your question very well.
You got there.
Are you sure?
You got there.
Okay. But it's like
It's different
Yeah.
in how we progress through the standards for each of the students, which I find it so fascinating.
yes.
And I appreciate what you do. It's a hard task to be so crafty with each individual one as you go through. The program is great.
It is and isn't, because I didn't think I was, like, what it comes down to is teachers willing to give up a little control. And it's okay. I don't have to know what a fifth generation gaming system is. It's okay. I have to learn how to release and let my students, like, do that. It's all about the skills. Like, I started out in social studies. I was, let's face it, I taught AP government at Tosa West in 2001, 2002. 9/11 actually happened my first year. I was the owner of all content. You could only get it from me. That was my first year of teaching. Now it's like, there's no reason for that, because we have all these sources. We need to teach students how to find information, how to use it, figure out how to use the stuff that's there. So I appreciate your kind words and everything. To me, it's become liberating. We're like, okay, all right, let's do it. Let's try it. So, I mean, that's just me. I used to be such a control freak, but
I get that. Thank you.
thank you.
Ms. Koenig.
Last spring, I had the privilege of sitting through East's graduation, as several of us were there, and it was a really great place. I had never seen such camaraderie and, family atmosphere, and you can tell that that's really been instilled, and that building just exudes that positivity. And from one passionate teacher to another, former teacher, but passionate in every sense of the word, I can see why your student was looking for you, because the passion that you have for what you're doing and the program that you've created and everything that goes along with it is just, it just radiates from you. So there's no doubt in my mind, that if this is an ounce of what the kids get every day, it's.
I'm pretty much
they're-
like this all the
Yeah,
time.
it's a gift for them. So thank you. This has been great.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ms. Voigt.
If I can piggyback on that example of East Phoenix Pride, we didn't get a chance to get to this part of your PowerPoint, but I think it's really noteworthy that in early November, Sue, the principal, will be presenting 3 breakout sessions in the journey from traditional to competency-based education at the Aurora Institute Symposium. It's an international conference for pioneering educators. And it's that invitation for her to be there is really something we should all take a lot of pride in Waukesha.
It's very cool. I agree. I'm jealous, but
Mr. Harlan.
So I'm very excited about the engaging in the community and the learning, the hands-on learning. Do you, or have you seen the students become more involved with those organizations outside of the classroom after being introduced within the program?
That's a great question. I can give you yes in some of those areas, but I can also tell you, for example, let me just tell you how my students, when last year I started out with the Great Outdoors, and I had many of these students that were just sat inside and they would game, whatever, and do things they probably shouldn't. Now you see these students all over town. They're fishing on weekends. They're doing things like that. But they're going around. They're picking up stuff up. I don't have to tell them. They're picking up stuff off the ground. They're picking up line. It's ingrained. And I had 2 students over the summer that are really into cars. And my ex, I knew some people that were doing the car show in Waukesha at the Frame Park. And I kind of said, hey, I got a couple of kids here who might be willing to do some things. These guys they really want to do these things. It's pretty cool. And I know there's some kids of mine that are working with, they're working at a care facility for older people. And I think some of them got that love of that from some of the things they were doing last year with our partnership that we have with, and I forget the name. I don't think I can ask the audience, but there's a I'm not terribly too versed in that, but there's a group that we're working with. So I am seeing more civic engagement. Is not just voting; it's being involved in loving your community, and I'm so proud of them. When sometimes we see things down by the dam or whatever else. Our kids have been so good, so professional. They're interacting with the public in such positive light. I had a gentleman today come up to me and goes, well, "Are you guys the Boy Scouts or something like that?" I'm like, "No, we're high school." He's like, "Can I call up your principal and just say how impressed I am with how your kids are?" And this is so neat. I'm like, "Yeah, please do. Please, yeah." We love hearing public, praise. And the more you get students involved in the community, then you take away that little frightenedness. I mean, it's normal for them. And we have that opportunity of doing that. Our program allows us to kind of do that. That's a great question. And I want to actually do it. I want to see more of that. I want to push more in that alignment like that. Good question, though.
Anything else from the committee? So what do you catch down there at the Fox River?
Well, today we had a challenge. We had a student today catch 6 different species. He's never fished until 4 weeks ago. He's pretty proud of that. He kept telling me he kept catching a largemouth. I'm like, no, it's still a largemouth. Doesn't get. Is it small? No, it's still a largemouth. No, you're still at 6. We have muskies, bowfin, bluegills, walleye. But we're looking at the change in seasons, the water flow, temperatures. So they will tell you when certain fish will come up here pretty much better than I can, because they've been following the science that goes along with the fish. And then they're so bummed out because it's been such a drought. And today they measured, it's only 68 degrees in the water. It needs to be lower. We're not going to see the walleyes. And I'm sitting back thinking, that's what I'm talking about. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, we thank you very much for your presentation. Did a wonderful job, and it's great to hear these kinds of programs, I think Ms. Kozlowski hit on a little bit, with it being more growth-oriented towards, it's sometimes hard to grasp what's really taking place, but
Yeah.
there's nothing more important than getting students out in the public and doing things that maybe they don't get a chance to get. So very, very great, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, our last discussion item of the evening was Bridging Brighter Smiles. And in a moment, we will have you come up. Sorry for the confusion earlier. Go ahead, Mr. Pat. Would you like to introduce our guest?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Zenobia. So welcome Amy and Holly from Bridging Brighter Smiles. They're going to present information on their efforts to provide dental hygiene services for school district of Waukesha students potentially. Their services are open to all students in the district who don't already see a dentist for full teeth cleanings, and I'll let them talk about what they do.
Do we have the slides? Awesome, thank you. Well, good evening. My name is Amy Lorio. I'm the Program Development Manager for Bridging Brighter Smiles. This is Holly Sanderson, our Hygiene Director. We first like to just thank the board for seeing us. We're very excited to talk about our program and at the prospect of being able to partner with you guys. So we're Bridging Brighter Smiles. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're based in Waukesha, but we serve students throughout the entire state of Wisconsin. Our vision is to create a community where every child is given the opportunity to receive basic preventative dental care, regardless of family income or insurance status. And we aim to achieve this vision through our mission, which is bridging the gap in dental care by offering access to services, building wellness relationships with communities, and educating students to instill lifelong healthy habits. So as I said, we serve students throughout the state of Wisconsin. Here you see a map. Just last year, we were in about 44 counties. We were in 136 school districts, and we had a little over 17,000 students enrolled in our program. So what exactly do we do? We are a school-based mobile dental hygiene program. We provide preventative dental services, so that's your cleanings, your screenings, your fluoride varnish, sealants, and silver diamine fluoride. We also provide chairside oral hygiene education. So we don't just clean the students' teeth, we help teach proper brushing technique as well as, which foods to eat, which are beneficial to your oral health. And we also have a referral network to help refer families to find a permanent dental home. Now, as Mr. Pat said, we are open to any child that does not have access to a dentist. There are no income restrictions. There are no insurance restrictions. In fact, we accept Badger Care. And we serve kids from pre-K through 12th grade. Now, I want to stress that we are not a replacement dentist, okay? So we provide the preventative half of dental care. We do not want to take away from the actual dental clinics within the city of Waukesha. Actually, we work with dental clinics to help find these kids a permanent dental home. So I just want to stress that again. So how does it actually work? What is our process? Well, in terms of marketing, we provide all our own marketing material. We work in collaboration with the schools to distribute this material, to get our name out, to get the word out through social media or posts on online message boards. Enrollment is very easy. Parents can enroll their child online, or we do also have paper enrollment forms that the child can bring to the school. In terms of scheduling the day, we work really hard with our schools to find an appropriate day for which we can come in. We try to do multiple days in a row just so that we can, so you guys don't just have us there for a long period of time. We work with the schools. We send them a list of students that we plan to see before the school day, it's before the school visit. This is, alphabetized list. It's meant to be very helpful so that the schools know who we are planning to see that day. On the visit day, our clinicians bring in all of their equipment themselves. The visit is held on the school grounds, usually in a separate room. And children are brought in one at a time. We borrow them from class for about 15 to 30 minutes, give them the teeth cleaning, and return them to school, return them right to class. So, this is not taking the kid out for 2 hours to go see a dentist. This is just in and out real fast. They're back in class. So why choose Bridging Brighter Smiles? Well, we've been around since 2012, so we're very well established. And we are also accustomed to working with large school districts. We're in Wausau. That's, about 8,000 students, 13 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, 2 high schools. We're also in Fond du Lac. We've been in Fond du Lac for over 10 years. That's 6,600 students, 10 elementaries, 3 middle schools, 1 high school. So we know how to handle large school districts such as Waukesha. Our teams are local. In fact, one of the hygienists who would be serving the Waukesha School District lives in Waukesha. And also, we are in Waukesha, and we would love the opportunity to be able to give back to this community. We've been here since 2012, and this would be the first time that we actually can come in and give back to the city of Waukesha. So with that, I'll stop there, and we can answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the committee? Go ahead, Mr. Harlan.
How would you work in conjunction with the district nursing staff or the health staff? How does that look?
Yeah, so our point of contact typically is the nurse. So we communicate, our schedule. It's pretty much a two-way communication for us to be able to make sure the school nurse was aware of our presence. They also can help us out find those students who are in most of need of our services. So we really are working with the nurses.
And then also, I guess, communication back to the parents. How does that communication path take place?
Yeah, so actually, once we get the enrollments and the marketing material out, we communicate directly to the parents. We can send out text messages to let them know that our visit's coming up and that, to enroll if they haven't enrolled yet. We have a special email that we use to communicate directly with the parents if we need to. We call the parents if there's a problem, if there's an issue that we believe needs to be addressed by a dentist. We are on the phone, we're calling them. We send information home with the student. We send our treatment summaries back with the student so the parents know what exactly we did with the student and what their needs are.
So we're in constant collaboration, we're in constant collaboration with not only the school administration team, but as the parents or guardians as well, continually. Our home base here in Waukesha, we have a set team who's constantly working with the parents to keep everyone well informed as to what's going on with that child. If there is a concern, they can reach the provider themselves, like myself. My license would be on that treatment summary. If not, then they can call our office and get answers.
Mrs. Kozlowski.
Thank you. So I want to talk a little bit about the financial logistics, just taking a look through some of the summary things. So how does the financing work? And what I'm really trying to understand is from a parent and whatnot, I understand how services will be based off of income-based, whether or not they have that. So how is the payment, the collection, and all of that managed?
Yeah. So we're able to bill Medicaid directly.
Okay.
So every child that's on Medicaid receives our services at no cost. For those who aren't on Medicaid, we do have low fees associated with our services. These fees can be collected over the phone with the parent. We don't ask the child to bring any cash or, to the school for you guys to have to deal with. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, so the managing, your teams are managing, coordinating the payment with the families
yes,
directly.
correct,
The service
correct, yes.
is effectively held on the school site so that we can offer that to the students.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Koenig.
I just had a quick question. Maybe I missed it, but how are the students identified, those students that you're going to be visiting? Is that through the advertisement and then parents sign them up? Or, it seems kind of a hard identification to see, which students would need dental care, other than if somebody were to request or show interest. So is that how the students are identified?
Yes, so as I said, we're open to anyone who doesn't have a dentist. The parents will enroll and based on the enrollment, that whoever enrolls is in our program.
Any other questions? I was curious about, I think Mrs. King hit on the, how do you get this in front of parents for them to sign up? But, if you get in there and you find a problem, you refer to a local dentist, or do you work with certain, or is there just wherever they can get in, or how does that referral process
Sure.
go?
So on an annual basis, we actually check and evaluate local dentists, and that is our referral list. So we're constantly building our referral list per district, per territory that we are in. And we have that open communication again with each referring dentist that we would send the kiddo to. So
And when you come into a district of our size, how many students are you finding that don't have access at all, that would
that
maybe
don't have access to
to
care at
any
all.
type of dental care, or haven't maybe, or?
There's quite a few. I wouldn't even have a guess.
Based on the enrollment numbers that we looked at, we would be able to service about 1,500 students. But whether or not they all needed care, we base really our numbers on our expected numbers based on the free and reduced lunch program, and those numbers are available publicly available. That's how we estimate how many enrollments we are going to have, and that determines, how many clinical teams we have available and what days we can go to the school.
Sure, okay. I think that answers my question. Anything else from the committee? If not, did you have I appreciate you coming. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you
Very
for
good
having
job.
us.
All right. If we could, Mr. Pett, maybe just follow up with this in the future and talk about what the next steps would be, and
Absolutely. Thank you. Yep.
thank you. Thank you, Ms. Kozlowski. All right, our last item then would be any recommendations for future meetings. All right, seeing no recommendations for this evening, that adjourns our meeting. Thank you all for being here.